All right, next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to ask everyone to please rise for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the one piece of housekeeping that we have for this committee meeting is the adoption of tonight's agenda. I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the agenda as written.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Mrs. Camphouse, please call the roll.
Mr. Atwood?
Yes.
Mrs. Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Ballard?
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
All right, with the agenda approved, we're going to move right into presentations, and the first item, and the only item on there, is facilities update. So I'd like to turn the floor over to Superintendent Ronan.
Thank you. I was going to try to make this larger so everyone can see. I don't know. How do I do it? Slideshow? Yes. All right, there we go. This is just a quick update on school readiness and the cleaning process, because we're exactly 2 weeks before school starts and the students are coming. So the good news is that the high school is in the final stages of being stripped and waxed. That's the cafeteria, looks great. We're moving everything around, and all the construction materials so Scarlett and Gray can clean. Classrooms look great. They've all been waxed and cleaned. There's only one that still has construction materials in it, but as you can see, even after they're all ready, the workmen are still in there working on things in the ceiling, etc. And they are trying to go back after Scarlett and Gray's trying to go back in after the construction gentlemen have been in there to try to make sure they've cleaned up all the dust and everything. Now, they are worried about the top hallways because there's so much traffic up on the roof because of the air handlers that they're struggling to get those hallways waxed because the construction people are walking all over them. And there may be one area, as you can see here, this is right outside the cafeteria. There has to be some place to move all the construction stuff. So we may have a section that doesn't get waxed because they really just can't get to it. Now, the middle school, as you came in, you saw it looks great. Middle school in great shape, floors all shiny, ready to go. Williams, good news is we have an elevator. The elevator works. The movers have been very grateful, and so have the construction people because they've been using the elevator. So that's really been great. Past inspection being used. The bad news is there's still a lot of furniture and boxes in the hallway, which of course causes problems. Scarlett and Gray would love it the teachers could be in the building and unpack the boxes, but they can't come in because we don't have the certificate of occupancy yet. So that's what a problem is. That's what a classroom looks like. So you can imagine you're having to try to move stuff into the hallway, move it back in to get it cleaned. So, there. And there is the electrical inspection is going to take place tomorrow on Friday, then the overall inspection on Monday. We're hoping if we pass, then staff can get in and start unpacking. But realistically, oh, there's the board office conference room. But as you can see, there's still a lot of work to be done in the entire building. The good news is we have 2 weeks. So in reality, you know, I think it really will come together, but it may be a bit dusty at Williams just because we're going to be down to the wire finishing up at Williams. So that's where we are at the moment. So hopefully in another week it'll look even better, and then in 2 weeks everything will be fine. So that concludes my report as to where we are. Any questions?
All right, does anybody have any questions?
And just to remind everyone, August 25th, that's the first day of school.
Okay, so the high school is still a bit warm. So the air handlers are in. Are we gonna, what's the
What I have heard, they're actually in, I think, on the roof already, but they don't think they can connect them in time. So we're still going with that temporary one.
Okay.
And then I guess they will eventually try to connect the new ones, but I don't believe they can get it done in 2 weeks. So the temporary one is still the plan. And I heard roofing materials are en route or may even be here because, they also have to put, I guess, new shingles around where they've cut holes and such.
Gotcha.
And that's what's causing all the traffic on the top floor, which keeps Scarlet and Gray from waxing because they're up and down going to the roof.
Okay.
Well, and I don't want to make them work twice, so there's no point in trying to move stuff out of their way just to wax and then put stuff back on top of the
It's,
fresh
yes,
wax.
so it's been frustrating for the cleaning.
Yeah. Have we discussed with Scarlet and Gray to come back after the contractors are out, even during the school year, to get that last little bit waxed?
We did, but I think they struggle because all of their people are back at work, so they don't have the extra crews like they do during the summer. So that could be a
special
problem.
weekend assignment?
Pardon?
Could it be a special weekend assignment?
It
or
might
maybe
be.
arranged over
I
the
think
holiday
they're
break?
trying to work with this because Julie can say, Julie and I met with Mr. Capel when we took these pictures when we were over there, and he's
Right.
trying really hard, to get everything done. So
Right.
I think he would try to find people to come in on a weekend.
And I think he's already had at least one weekend that they worked and said that he would do another weekend. They have cleaned a lot since school's let out, so.
Plus, they're doing a lot of the moving of all the stuff out of the rooms
Yeah.
and back, so it does slow them down too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do feel for the teachers at Williams that are going to be kind of like in at the 11th hour to get their room set up. I just know how challenging that is, and I feel for them. But this is construction, right? When we're at the mercy of the occupancy certificate before we can have
And
people in
Mr.
there.
Peter thinks the city would work with us if we don't pass on Monday. Hopefully, the inspector would come back on Tuesday or Wednesday, to relook at whatever areas didn't pass.
Sure. Okay.
So,
And all of our buildings have been like this, every single one of them have been turned over to us last hour. I think the middle school was the day before school started.
That is
We
correct.
got occupancy, so if we get into Williams a week before, that's really good.
Yeah.
I was going to say, are the teachers able to, accept volunteers if maybe a parent wants to come in and help with setting up their classroom? Or, maybe some other teachers in the district who aren't in that situation this year, who've gone through
who
it.
could help out?
May want to help with
I've noticed, I think a lot of families will be coming in, spouses and children to help,
a lot
to
of
your
family
point.
members. Okay.
Yes, it's a family thing,
Well,
I'm sure.
if I'm not at work, I'm happy to lend a hand too. and
Thank
help
you.
Set up, so keep us posted.
All right. Any other questions related to the start of the school year? We'll move on to the next item on our agenda. We do not have anything for the Education Committee this month. So we'll move to item number 6, which is personnel, and I'll turn it back over to Superintendent Ronan.
Thank you very much, President Atwood. All right, 6.01 is resignation, retirement, and Dwight Brandt is leaving us after 15 years, so we certainly wish him well in his retirement. And also, Chuck Smith is leaving us. He has been working full-time and part-time over the last couple years in the school, but he feels he has to devote more time to his congregation. So we will miss him also. But I know he still keeps in touch and works with us. 6.02, employment. We do give our counselors extended time, and so that's what number 1 is during the summer to get things ready for the start of school, student schedules and everything, and the master schedule. Then supplementals, as you can see, our orchestra, marching band, and silhouette director, they're already in here practicing. Number 3, we welcome Peggy back as a sub. Number 4, Raylan Burden has returned on a grant, so we have to run this through yearly because she's not a permanent employee. It's as long as the grant funding continues, we get to keep Raylan. Yes. Number 5, kindergarten camp. Tammy's going to help us out with it, Tammy Blair. It starts next week, August 16th through 19th, and we've had to move the Williams Kindergarten Camp over to Sharpsburg because that's just too soon to have the children in the building. There's too much construction going on. Number 6 is just a correction in salary. Number 7, as you can see, fall sports pupils activity contracts. We have a lot of them, and it looks like we're almost fully staffed with fall sports. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
All right, are there any questions or concerns regarding the personnel report? No, we'll move on to Section 7 in our agenda. That's the Building and Grounds Committee. I'd like to turn the floor over to Board Member Mrs. Werica.
Okay, we have one request from the Cincinnati Mavericks water polo team. How fun. And they want a lot of dates. Oh, good. The one I read earlier today had listed out tons of dates. And it's like from 5 to 7 in the evening.
Yeah, they used our pool last year for this practice as well. So, and this is a paid, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's the dates. It's a lot of dates.
Yeah. All right, any questions or concerns about the water polo team using the pool?
Are we
didn't have
allowed to
any
go
issues
watch?
with them last year reported, so I think it's kind of cool that they want to continue that relationship.
Yeah.
Sounds entertaining too.
All right.
That's only for practices? They don't host any games or matches with
I
us?
don't think the pool is big enough to officially host games.
I thought we were Olympic size,
Oh, no.
or half Olympic size, if that's right. But I thought they could do matches in that size pool.
The shallow end is too shallow.
Oh, okay. That makes
So
sense.
it would give an unfair advantage. For water polo, it's a penalty if your feet touch the floor of the pool.
You don't want a very short.
Right, and so the shallow end of that pool, I believe, is only 3 or 3.5 feet deep. So it's hard to tread water 3.5 feet.
I just think it'd be cool to have people to be able to go and watch a match. That'd be cool.
I think it would be interesting to have them go watch practice,
That's what
Yeah.
I was
if
thinking.
they would allow it.
At least for the swim team, I think.
Yeah,
that'd be kind of
especially
a
for
neat,
those kids.
Yeah.
Avenue of interest, since they already like being in the water, maybe that could be an avenue for them.
So one interesting thing is water polo for high school is a fall sport. And a lot of times, the kids who play water polo will then continue on because swimming is a winter sport, right? So they'll do that, so. But there's not many water polo teams in the state. So. Anyways, no other questions? We'll vote on that next week. And then we'll move on to Section 8 in our agenda. We're flying through this thing tonight. That's the Finance Committee, and I'd like to turn the floor over to our District Treasurer, Mrs. Camphouse.
Thank you, Mr. President. The CFO report is attached for your review, as well as the monthly financial documents. We discussed the monthly financials in Finance Committee this afternoon. Change order listings for the open construction projects are attached also. 8.02 temporary appropriations, our budget for the current year on the agenda. 8.03 cyber liability renewal for our cyber technology insurance. 8.04 Stepping Stones Agreement. This agreement will provide special education services to qualified students as specified in their IEP for the current school year. 8.05 Hamilton County Sheriff Agreement to provide SRO services for the district for the 22-23 school year. 8.06 Norwood Commercial Paper Holdings as per ORC 135.142C. Annually, I must notify the Board of Education of our commercial paper purchases included in our investment portfolio, which is attached to the agenda. Of course, our investment portfolio is in our attached, it's part of my CFO report, which is shared monthly with the board and the public, but still I must satisfy this requirement. Our commercial paper investments are only with companies with the highest possible rating. 8.07, new accounts, to create new financial accounts for the class of 2026 as a fundraiser account, and for our new Norwood Montessori Elementary Schools Principals Fund. 8.08, just one then and now purchase order for an invoice to Grant Us Hope. 8.09, board member professional development, to approve the professional development for our board to attend the OSBA Capital Conference in November. 8.10, a new passenger van via the EPC Consortium. So we are in the market to buy a passenger van to provide services to students in community-based work studies. These past few years, our opportunities for work study have been limited due to COVID-restricted transportation. This van will allow us to provide additional transition services, including job exploration and job training prior to graduation. Last month, the board approved a resolution that we joined Southern Ohio EPC Consortium, and we can now order the van through the EPC as they have documented proof of bidding to fulfill our purchasing requirements. In addition, this purchase has been pre-approved by our legal counsel as an ESSER allowed capital equipment purchase. Of course, we may see delays in the purchase of this van due to supply chain issues. I wanted to put it on the agenda so that you would have advance notice in case I do have the documentation for next week, but I don't know that I'll have the documentation for next week, but hopefully soon we will be able to get that order in. Finally, 8.11, a huddle agreement to provide software and streaming services to our athletic department in order to easily review tapes of games for student improvement. This will allow us to provide streaming services. Like I said, at this time, we don't think that we will use that unless there is the time that Norwood Community Television cannot tape the game. Right now, what we want to use the huddle services for is just to review tapes for student improvement on the court.
This is that device that sits in, like it's mounted in the gym and
Yes.
it just follows. There's one at
Automatically.
Chase Stadium as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Automatically covers all the games. And we'll use it just to review tapes, is what Chuck said.
Okay.
Now, is this the same thing, or is this different than what we were in before with Alex?
It was several years ago that we did it with Alex. Yes, it's a different company, though.
Okay.
We removed ourselves from that contract. We
Right.
weren't happy with the services.
Right, okay. Yeah, that's what I didn't want to go
Yeah.
back to that, so.
Yeah. And that is all I have for finance.
All right. Are there any questions related to any of the finance items? No? All right. Well, that is it for finance. Section 9 in our agenda is entering into an executive session. And I would like to make a motion that we enter into executive session in accordance with ORC 121.22 G81. Information is directly related to a request for economic development assistance that is to be provided or administered under the statutes set forth in ORC 121.22 G81 or involves public infrastructure improvements or the extension of utility services that are directly related to an economic development project.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Mrs. Camphouse, please call the roll.
Mr. Atwood?
Yes.
Mrs. Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Ballard?
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
All right, it is 6:20 and we are entering into executive session. 6:51 and we are reconvening back into open session. The next item in our agenda is to adjourn. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion.
Second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned from the committee meeting, and we are going to move directly into the special board meeting. So I'd like to call to order the special board meeting for the Norwood City School District for Thursday, August 11th, 2022. The Norwood City School District Board of Education follows a bi-monthly meeting schedule. First meeting of the month is called our committee meeting. At this meeting, we discuss fully our agenda for the board meeting to be held the third Thursday of each month. As board members, we encourage you to attend, watch, and listen to our committee discussion, which results in action at the board meetings. For full disclosure, all of our committee meetings and board meetings are always announced, video and audio taped, as well as posted to our webpage for your view. All of our meetings are public. Visitors are welcome. Mrs. Camphouse, please call the roll.
Mr. Atwood,
Present?
Mrs. Cole,
Present.
Miss Ballard,
Present.
Mrs. Rarica,
Present.
Mr. Taylor.
Present.
All right, we've already done the Pledge of Allegiance for today, so we're going to move into the other housekeeping item, which is the adoption of the special meeting agenda. I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the agenda as written.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Ms. Camphouse, please call the roll.
Mr. Atwood,
Yes.
Mrs. Cole.
Yes.
Miss Ballard,
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
All right, on the agenda, we have one item for the special meeting, and this is out of the Finance Committee report. I'd like to turn the floor over to our District Treasurer, Mrs. Camphouse.
Oh, it shouldn't be finance, it is transportation, isn't it?
Well, it is transportation, but they have it under the Finance Committee report, at least on board docs.
Mary, do you mind?
I can certainly speak to it. This is a resolution declaring transportation of students to the following schools impractical. We ran this through in the spring, but since spring, there have been several more charter schools that have opened. So we just made an all-inclusive list since we're a walking district and we don't transport. Because otherwise, every time a new charter opens, we have to keep coming back. So we added the entire list. We do compensate parents when it's impractical to transport. I believe the payment is about it's over $500 this year. So that's what this is, and we needed a special meeting to approve this.
Thank you.
All right, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the resolution as presented to us.
I'll second.
Any discussion? So do we have an idea of how many students take advantage of the transportation or payment in lieu of transportation?
We have less than 10 families that get payment in lieu of transportation.
Okay.
I think more the complication is the timing. So the state has changed the timing so that we only have 2 weeks to provide a transportation plan for students that are charter school or private schools.
Right.
So if they come to us and say they want transportation, we've got 2 weeks. That's why we're going ahead and doing this in practical now. And then we don't have to come up with a plan for transportation and deal with it as we go through the year. But yeah, there's not many. We are a walking district. People assume that we do not have transportation, so.
Yeah. I know in years past, we have always taken care of this well in advance of the school year in the spring. We did that this last spring.
We did.
But I know I had, I don't know if anybody else got the flyer on their doorknob for
Maybe.
one of the IDEA schools.
Yes, there's 2 of them. One of them is opened up in the old Bible College campus, and the other's at the Brown Mackey campus. It's a national charter chain that's pre-K through 12th grade, and they've renovated both those campuses, and they have billboards and are doing a lot of advertising. So we did not have those on the list in the spring, and nor did we have the Classical Academy in Reading.
Okay.
And in the spring when we did it, we were following the rules in the spring.
Right.
And now the rules have changed, so we're following the rules. Yeah.
So as the rules change, so do
That's
our
right.
processes and procedures.
That's
All right.
right.
Any other discussion on this item? Mrs. Camphouse, please call the roll.
Mr. Atwood,
Yes.
Mrs. Cole,
Yes.
Miss Ballard,
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
With that, the resolution declaring transportation of students the following school year impractical is passed. That is the only item on the special meeting. I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.